Hi, this is Stephanie Powers. You're listening to TV Confidential.
Ed Robertson welcoming you back to TV Confidential Radio Talks about television. That is very happy to welcome Mr. Tom Sturges. Tom Sturges, son of Academy Award-winning writer-director Preston Sturges, and one of the top executives in the music industry for more than 35 years. Tom Sturges has signed such artists as Smashing Pumpkins, 50 Cent, Foo Fighters, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Katrina and the Waves, and John Bon Jovi, as well as many hit writers and producers. He has also engineered the purchase of catalogs for Dorsey Burnett, Roy Ayers, and Paul Anka, plus he was vice president and general manager of the record label of Shaquille O'Neal. Tom Sturges is also an accomplished writer and publisher. He is the author of 5 books, including a book on his father, Preston Sturges, The Last Years of Hollywood's First Writer-Director. Tom's latest book, Men Explained, finally, is a humorous, totally unscientific, and yet often very wise look at the male species that attempts to make men less confounding and a lot easier to live with. We'll tell you more about Men Explained, finally, in just a second. But first, we began our conversation by telling Tom Sturges, I am enjoying your book.
Oh, that's very good. I'm glad to hear it.
I'm not sure I agree with all of your observations, but I realize a lot of this is done in fun. And there have been a lot of there have been many occasions so far where I've had what I call knowing nods. As I read it, which, speaking writer to writer, that is all you can hope your writing will do, will elicit that sort of reaction as you're reading. You know,
I'm in the middle of a Stephen King book now, and I marvel at when he gets the sentence right or puts an idea that puts a chill in my back. And I'm like, nice.
Yeah. Once upon a time, I was lucky enough to spend about a half an hour on the phone with him. And while I've never been a fan of his particular genre, I've always appreciated, and this was before he released his book on writing. He would take the time to write articles for stuff like Writer's Digest and stuff for, aspiring writers. For all his success, he never forgets to share the wisdom he's learned along the way. You know what I'm saying?
I think we owe that to each other. I think that's all this book is, frankly.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not a scientist, and there's no statistics to back me up, except for a couple of, like how much women spend on makeup. Right. But the rest of it is just my observation of me and all the other dudes and the kind of things that we do.
I will be 62 in March. And as I get older and hopefully wiser, anecdotal experience is often the best sort of tool we have going forward. We hopefully grow wiser in addition to older and build on whatever we've done going forward.
That's, yes, an ideal, but I'm making a lot of the same stupid mistakes I made when I was a kid, but I'm older now.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like my golf game. I can promise myself I'm not going to push it left, but I'll be damned. That putt went left again, and it's not that I'm wiser, it's just that I'm caught in my own experience. Yeah,
well, it also explains why I ate an entire box of cereal almost in one sitting last night, even though I know there's a lot of sugar. I did it anyway. I know better, but I did it anyway. But
and to me, that's the 14-year-old in you, God bless him.
Yes, yeah.
That he's like, yeah, I know this is wrong, and you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. And boom. And there goes the entire box, and I bet you enjoyed every bite.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Perfect.
Men Explained, finally, by Tom Sturges, available wherever books are sold through Centimilla Press. You can also find it at Amazon.com, where books are sold online. For more on Tom Sturges, TomSturges.net. What led you to write Men Explained, finally?
Ultimately, the overarching hope is that all my pals have better relationships with the women in their lives. Because certainly the relationship with the woman in your life is the most important relationship you've got. no matter how much you love your kids and your Shelby Cobra Mustang, it's that person that you look across the table and you're like, oh my God, that's the most important thing that's ever happened to me. And I believe that is the case. It's more important than what you do and where you do it, it's who you do it with.
Yeah, I'm going to guess one of your hopes for both the males who read Men Explain Finally and the females who read Men Explain Finally is that we come to understand each other at least a little bit better.
Absolutely. I mean, we are some of the guidelines, I don't know if you agreed or disagree because I haven't checked the form, but if you ask us nicely, we'll do almost anything, I think is a universal truth about men.
Yeah, that was one of the places where I nodded in agreement a lot. And it's a point that you return to more than once in the course of Men Explain Finally, Tom. For me, and this is, I'm currently in between relationships. But when I was married and in my last long-term relationship, one of the bones of contention when my partner and I argued is often not so much what she asked me to do, but how she did it. So exactly, it's how you do it, and that is one of the core man truths you talk about in your book.
And I so agree with it. It's how you ask us and how you praise us. We don't want to be complimented. I don't want to go, hey, nice job on the garden. I want the woman in my life to go, you know what, this looks like a golf course. Right, make it big, honey. Come on, I went to a lot of trouble to paint that kitchen ceiling. Let's compare it to the Sistine Chapel. Come on, work with me here.
Yeah, and that's common sense. I mean, there's a reason why the cliche you can attract a lot more flies with honey than with vinegar is a cliche, because it speaks to a very basic truth.
Right. Would you say that when one of the central truths that I tried to put into this book was that we fall in love with the face first?
I would agree. And if not the face specifically, maybe a specific part of the anatomy.
If you're a boob man, yes, that's going to catch your eye, but you're not falling in love with that girl. You're just noticing her. If you're a butt man and, whatever is your fancy strolls by, you're going to notice, but you're not falling in love. But she turns around and you look at the eyes, it's the smile, it's the way the hair frames the face. And I know it makes us sound like we're children, but I think that is the central part of us. And that's what really pulls us in is a girl's face.
And actually, now that you put it that way, Tom, I agree with you, because it also speaks to another core central man truth that you talk about in Men Explain Finally, is that men are very uncomplicated. Men are very simple. and you're right. A lot of times, a woman's face, we'll be attracted to a woman's face and her smile, and hopefully the warmth that exudes from her smile, or if you're on a dating app, the photograph that comes across your feed.
Yeah, I've never been on a dating app, so I wouldn't know, but I guess a lot of my brethren have. For me, all the love affairs, as I look back, it's when I saw her face.
Yeah.
I never forgot. And any of those great loves, by the way, it's another idea of mine, is that we love forever. That you can, I could ask you, I'm not going to, but I could ask you now, who the first girl you fell in love with, and it was probably in 5th grade. And, whatever. And it's not like we want to know those people now. We just will never forget how much we loved them then. Girl in grade school, girl in high school, girl in college. All along the way, they're like pearls on a string that will never, ever come undone.
Mine was 6th grade.
And you know both her names, first and last name still, yes?
Yes, I do. I every now and then I think about the first gal I kissed. And in fact, I can remember the moment. I can remember the evening. I remember. It's like if I'm not a screenwriter, but I can easily come up with a 1 or 2 page scene setting that captures the scene of the night of the first girl I kissed. And that's one of the things you talk about in Men Explain Finally. We retain vivid memories of things like that with our first crushes, our first kisses, etc.
I remember, and I can still go to that spot. It's in Waddles Park, which is a park here in Hollywood, where my brother was having band practice, and her older brother was in the band, and the two of us took a walk. We sat on the bench, and I think I was 6th grade, and that was it. And that was the first kiss. And I can go see that bench right now. I could drive up the street and see it. And by the way, she's still around. She's still a pal of mine. We never had any adult romance. It was just that first kiss.
Yeah.
And I love her still.
Yeah, I can't say the same for the previous women in my life. Again, that's what makes us both unique and similar at the same time, if that makes sense.
I love that, yeah.
Tom Sturges is on the line with us. Tom Sturges, top music executive and a man whose artist signings have sold a combined 275 million albums and 46 million singles, including 26 number one singles and 24 Grammy Awards. Tom Sturges is also an accomplished author. His latest book, Men Explained Finally, is a humorous look at the male species that reveals such man-truths as why all men are really 14-year-old boys, why all men are like whales, why all men have 3 basic needs, and why every problem in the world can be solved with duct tape. Men Explained Finally, available now wherever books are sold through Centimilla Press. Centimilla Press. You can also find Men Explained Finally, Amazon.com, wherever books are sold online. For more on Tom Sturges, TomSturges.net.
Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
Ed Robertson, thanking you for listening to the TV Confidential podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe button so that you won't miss our next episode.
Hi, this is writer-director Joseph Doherty, and you're listening to the award-seeking show TV Confidential.
You've spent 35 plus years experience in the music industry. To what extent has your experience in the music industry taught you some basic male truths?
Well, it put me in a lot of rooms with a lot of guys. Making records, having meals, coming up with plans and everything else. And the music business is really a gigantic playground, if you think about it. Mm-hmm. Your job as the artist is to get up there and have a great time in front of your 500, 5,000, 50,000 best friends, right? And tell me any footage you've seen of a band rocking out that doesn't look like it's the greatest day of their life. Right? And one of the rules of the music business that we tried to, standard you tried to keep to, is that when you look at the band, all the guys want to be in the band and all the girls want to sleep with the guys. When you got that, right, and you look at some of these, you know, it's not accidental that most lead singers are gorgeous. Mm-hmm. I think you take, I don't know, John Bon Jovi, Paul McCartney, I mean, all the way down the line, they're gorgeous, and they surround themselves with fantastic musicians who are there having fun, which is the essence of being a 14-year-old. I want to have fun every single day, please.
And when McCartney or Bon Jovi are in their element and they're playing music, whether in the recording studio, whether live on stage, there's a pure joy that
Absolutely.
emanates, and that also speaks to a basic male truth.
I think that's who we are, is that we love to have fun. We love to be pals. And one of the things I talk about, I don't know if I got a friendly nod from you on this or not, was this idea that we compartmentalize. And this is the key, to me, the key to our survival, is that we can be one guy for 30 minutes, and maybe that's helping the dog at the vet. But then 10 minutes later, close that box, run over, play a quick emergency 9 holes with your best pal, and you get over it, and you move to the next and the next. And especially when it comes to our embarrassing moments, our things we wish we hadn't said, our biggest mistake, we can't have those lying out. Those got to be away in little boxes that we know where they are, and they're protected from the light.
Well, it's interesting that you should say that, because when I first read, your essay on why men are good at compartmentalizing, my initial thought was, well, that's the opposite of conventional wisdom, because most people would say it's women who know how to do that better than men. But when you think in terms of the various boxes that we put things in and take things out of, like, for example, both my therapist and my best friend, 2 different people, describe me as an extroverted introvert. Meaning I'm essentially a quiet person off mic, but as part of what I do, I happen to be good at talking to people, both professionally, as you and I are doing, and to some degree in my other work as a writer. I mean, a writer has to write, but a writer has to listen, and a writer has to ask the sort of questions to elicit the material, especially if one does collaborative writing. But when I don't do that, I'm very shy and I'm very quiet. And so there are some people who don't understand how I can be both those people. But as you say, it's because in certain situations I'm able to pull the extrovert out of that extrovert box and draw on that. And when I don't need to do that anymore, I put that away and I become an introvert again. Does that make sense?
So that is exactly my theory, that we are not just one guy. We are however many boxes we have. And I have a feeling that it is much more complicated than an introvert one day and an extrovert another day, honestly.
It is.
And so, for instance, the next time you're out in the world and you see some beautiful woman and you go, oh my God, I have to meet this person, the extrovert will pop out of his box and say, I'm ready, let's go.
Men Explained, finally, by Tom Sturges, our guest this hour, available wherever books are sold through Centimilla Press. You can also find Men Explained, finally, Amazon.com, where books are sold online. For more on Tom Sturges, TomSturges.net. This is an interesting contradiction, and you touched on this in one of your responses earlier in our chat, Tom. The name of your book is Men Explained, finally, and yet I understand you don't consider yourself to be an expert at all on the male psyche. How can that be?
Well, to throw a serious point in here, my father died when I was very, very young.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up as an observer of life around me. And I would watch all the other little boys with their dads and how they held hands and interacted and went to the park and all that stuff. And it got me in the habit of watching. And I think that's why I became good in the music business. I was a talent finder, because I got used to looking for things in people that they might not realize they're showing. Right? And that's the whole concept I discuss in here about an involuntary act, and how if you are falling in love with somebody, never tell them what they do involuntarily, because it will no longer be an involuntary act. They will do it again and again, and you've ruined the whole thing. So when you are that little boy and you are observing all these things in the world, it just continued until my adulthood. And I would see a very dear friend of mine and his wife wanted to change him. she saw him as a project. And I thought, oh, no, that's never going to work. Why don't you know that? You know, if you have to, women have to see us as the finished product.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do a little touch up here and there, but this is it. It took a lot of work to become this 14-year-old boy.
That's right.
And when I realized that women don't know that we fall in love with their face first. I have yet to meet a woman who said, yes, that's absolutely true. They're like, really? What about, and no, nothing else matters. It's that. And I wrote a whole essay that we don't change well. In fact, we change terribly. And it makes us uncertain of who and what we are. And if a woman sees us as a changeable, a fungible commodity, the love affair is over. Because we can't trust that person to let us be ourselves around them.
Yeah, and that's the key. If you find yourself with a person who makes you hyper vigilant or hyper aware because you're not doing everything according to her specifications, that's not the basis of a good relationship. And if that dynamic is, I'm just speaking from experience here, if that dynamic is what's going on in your relationship, I'm not saying you, Tom, I'm just saying you generally, then there's a lack of understanding of that fungibility.
That's not going to work. I'm sorry. It's just, it may be it'll last, but the guy won't be happy. So I'll give you an example. One of my sons, because we're Irish on my side, which is 30 generations of drunks going. I have the literature to prove it.
Yeah.
My boy drinks a little too much. And I've made him aware of this. And I said, kid, this is part of your destiny in addition to who you are. And I was talking to his girlfriend, who's completely in love with him. And I said, leave the control of the drinking to me. Okay, let me be the guy on that, and you don't touch that. Because if you start in on him with that, the love affair will end.
Yeah.
And so if somebody has a terrible habit, go recruit somebody to help them fix it, but don't do it yourself.
Yeah, because...
Don't have your love affair.
Yeah, unless she really knows him well and knows how to speak to him to elicit the sort of results she hopes to get. I mean, it'll go back to tone. What we talked about, tone. It's how you say it.
Well, that's such a good point you bring up. How you say it is almost everything to us, but that's because we're children. You know? We don't like being spoken down to, and we don't like being criticized. So we want to be celebrated and praised. And my recommendation is if you have something really negative to say to one of us, you should whisper it. And if you, like, the wife comes over and goes, what happened to the car? Right? Because if you whisper at somebody, I don't know if you know this is a human phenomenon, they will whisper back.
Yes.
But even Stephen A. Smith, who makes his living as a yeller, would whisper back if you said, hey, can I ask something?
Men Explained, finally, by our guest Tom Sturges, available wherever books are sold through Centimilla Press. You can also find it Amazon.com, where books are sold online. For more on TomSturges.net. Tom's going to stay with us for another segment. We hope you'll stay with us as we continue our conversation here in TV Confidential.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-239-0201. 800-239-0201. That's 800-239-0201.